His idea was to sort of begin with a sketch for a more fully fleshed idea. So it's in a way a teaser for a feature, you know, and so I guess that's what lends itself to the potency of short films, because there's less dialogue, there's more on-screen imagery, there's just more left to the imagination and, you know, things that are implied rather than overstated. So Wallace's past, those sort of voices you hear, this is a man trying to, he's unreconstituted, he's still a warrior, but he's got all the sort of trappings of modernity. His little backstory was that there was some action he'd seen with his commanding officer.
You see the scars on his torso.
You see the scars on his torso. You do, and the mental scars in the audio track. This thing of this constantly hovering hive of voices that just haunts his every waking hour and sleeping hour, I imagine, as well. And he has a security company he's trying to assimilate. He has the trappings of a well-to-do professional life, a nice car, leather jacket, a pretty grim but bachelorette. You know, he's got a bachelor pad. But yet he's damaged goods. I mean, which ties in with the theme of the whole film, which is about, you know, the loss of innocence and the destructive power of conflict. Full stop. But, you know, going back to your original question, it came about as an idea from Patrick. I was working with him, training for Khan for Star Trek, and he was over in LA, and thankfully actually editing his first short film. And so we talked a lot about genres, we talked a lot about action, because I was obviously beefing up and doing a lot of stunts for Khan and Star Trek, so it sort of spawned in his head that the idea that I might be able to be involved in his next project, and he wrote it and said, I want you to just have a look at it. He talked about it a bit, I gave him some notes and encouragement, and then it came, I think a long time after that, almost a year after that, the next spring, where he said, I really want to make this at some point. I said, do you want me to do it for you? Do you want me to play Wallace and help you make it? And he fell off his chair going, wow, you know. And I said, no, you know, I believe strongly in trying to help friends, and if I'm in that position where I can do that, so be it. And that's when these lovely people all started to come on board.
Yeah, what did you guys end up doing? Because there's a lot that takes place, obviously, in a very short period of time, and it's a pretty short shoot, too, you were telling me yesterday, wasn't it?
It was a short shoot, yeah. It was even shorter prep. It was, I think, from the day that Benedict and Patrick kind of came to us and said that we want to do this, and we obviously, Benedict's availability was very limited. We had about 11 days to put this together, including the crowdfunding process and everything like that. So it was quite crazy how quickly it all came together. But yeah, it was that was one of the most insane things.
Was that one of the things that sort of made it just happen, that you only had this amount of time to do it, so you basically had to do it, you had to make it happen?
Yeah, you know what, sometimes it does. Sometimes if you stop talking about things and you just do them, and you say, this is when we're doing it, this is when we've got to do it, this is when we need the personnel and the kit, you have no choice. And we were really lucky. We had some amazing HODs who came forwards and wanted to do it. And they really wanted to work on the project. There were people who were asking to work on the project when they had started hearing about it.
Well, it's interesting because it's a short film with a lot of action. How do you rehearse that much action, given how little time you have to prepare for both of you guys?
We had hardly any time. We had a little rehearsal in a church, but the day before we started shooting.
Church?
Yeah, very apt place to rehearse.
Of course, that was such
child-induced violence.
There was one moment when I realised the curtains were open, and it's a very beautiful church in Hampstead, and I was quickly closing curtains before I left.
Yeah, I think it's where the playgroup usually meets, and there we were sort of deciding how to kill each other, but you know, all's fair in love and war. But yeah, that was part of it, and I think amazing stunt team as well. I mean, people, again, at every single level there were people who were throwing their oar in and their work in and their expertise in for nothing. And we had boys from Batman and Bond. I mean, really big action films that Patrick had known along his journey, and these guys had known along theirs. And Ben Dillon, who's not with us today, and the other producer of Sunday March. So, yeah, it was something whereby a lot of people came together in the instant and just made it happen. So I'd been training a little bit, but I was in the middle of shooting the 3rd season of Sherlock. So I think we'd done 2 episodes, and then Martin went back to New Zealand, and I did eventually as well for a bit more Smaug, and then came back to do the final one. So we literally crammed it in that break.
To Smaug. To this.
Well, no, Sherlock to this to Smaug.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive
and
my
then back
decision.
to Sherlock.
Okay then, yeah.
Get it right, Elvis?
Well, you say it that way, it makes all the sense in the world. Now I get it.
No, it was a weird pack of cards to shuffle, I can tell you, but such is my life. And it's a blessing in disguise, I guess. But that's part of it. That's part of the reason I wanted to do it. You know, I wanted to help a friend, but I also wanted to just carry on, no pun intending, flexing that action muscle, and just because it's a completely different skill set and something I hadn't done much before. And then we got this boy involved, and Nick's going to tell you about that.
Yeah.
I just got given a big plastic nose to wear. They were rehearsing stunts and they were sticking this nose on. I was like,
You get to pick your own tattoo at least?
Yeah, that's my own tattoo. No, it was Patrick's idea. I've been very good friends with these guys for a long time. They were at Elstree Studios preparing it. I was at Elstree Studios fixing my car. And then Adam said, you know, do you want to do this thing? And Ben said, oh, yeah, this would be fun. And then I'd been here last year, and I think I'd just flown back from the festival last year, I think. And I'd literally got off the plane from here, went to this rehearsals and got given a plastic nose. And that's when I thought, you know, why can't he be Russian? And then yeah, it'll be fine. You know, it was all sort of made, but the joy, the beauty of short films instead of big films is these guys are in charge. They're our friends. There's no big American studio boss. There's no one that's going to tell you what you can and can't do apart from these guys. And that's a discussion, not an order. Do you understand? So with short films, you have this fantastic freedom, not just to ask if you can get people for stars for 2 or 3 days, or people that are stunt coordinators from the James Bond films or Batman for 2 or 3 days. They'll do 2 or 3 days on your short film. They might not do 3 months in a desolate country on a feature, but they'll do a few days on your short film. But you have the freedom to experiment and to just to try to make things. You can make a thing work in a different way on a short film. You don't.
How do you mean?
But you can try something backwards, like instead of discussing whether it's going to be a Russian accent with a stuck-on nose, just do it and see if it works. You know. And then the short film, they'd say, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go with that. Whereas, so short films are so important because everybody gets to experiment. And everybody is given freedom, not just the actors, but also the producers, the writers, the effects guys, everything. And wonderful things happen, like we end up here, you know. So.
Also, they're there 100% because they're supporting the project and for the love of it. Because a lot of them weren't getting paid; they were just there because they wanted to be there, because they wanted to be involved with it. So it's about everyone collaborating and being there. Not just because they're getting paid, because they're loving it, which is, you know, we're not always lucky enough to have that in our industry, but that's what you always guaranteed with a project like this.
But Nick brings up an interesting point. What did you tell them they couldn't do? I mean, because everybody's committed with things they wanted to do, but you have to say, we can't do this, we can't do that because we're on a clock.
Trust me, we said they can't do a lot. No, you definitely discuss things. You've got to discuss things, you've got to over things, and we did discuss things a lot. We didn't discuss things as much as you would like to, because obviously you'd like to have as much prep as you can, and obviously for Patrick he didn't have as much prep as one would.
I'm sure this idea has been boiling around his head for a long time. You were talking about.
Yeah. He's been talking about it for a while, but once he's actually got his technicians and going through everything with that, it all did happen very fast. But it was about coming to an agreement because Benedict was producing on this. Benedict was involved in so much of that, which it was a gift for everyone else.
The reason the company formed was in order for the product to be of a certain quality. So, not just supporting someone in independent cinema, but making sure that it was good. And like Nick says, everyone in every department was trying new things. We had a DOP who was working with a camera that hadn't really had a massive outing like this. The F.
No, it was the first.
Sounds like
it was
an
the
F-15.
first.
What's
the F-65.
F-65.
It was
yeah.
the first time it had been used in the UK on drama.
Yeah. So all of these things, and a lot of them coming together through all of it really coming together through generosity because of the crowdfunding. You get an audience paying to see something that they just have faith in because of the people involved in it. That's a great gesture of goodwill and generosity. So there comes an onus of responsibility. I'm just like, well, you sure you want to see this film, you know? But people do, and it's just about being part of that film coming to life, whatever the end result is. And so the company formed not to say this is the kind of film we're going to make. Company formed to make sure that we made a good version of this story. And where we go next with the company is going to be very, very different from this. But
I mean, is there a kind of a charter of the things that you guys want to do, or is it just a matter of finding things that aren't being offered to you?
the silent part.
No, I think it's about doing things that we think are interesting and that we want to do. And they may be things that it's harder for bigger studios or companies to do. And it's about finding the right project that we think allows us to work with artists and allows them to express themselves, as we were able to allow Patrick to do in this film, and sort of explore his directing vision. That's kind of one of the main goals of the company and the way we want it to sort of work forward, I think.
One of the reasons, because I'd been here last year with the film that I directed, and I knew how wonderful it was, and how great the festival was, and how beautiful and film friendly the city was, and that you have Alvernia, this amazing film studio just outside. I put to the guys, let's go to this place because this might be something that will help us moving forward. And what we're doing here is hopefully potentially putting a project together to come here with, you know. And that's one of the joys of being a small company that isn't restricted. And it's I feel very lucky because I came here last year and had such an amazing time and had the best kept secret in the film industry that this place is wonderful. You know, this place should be filmed. The rest of the world needs to know how beautiful Krakow is and how should be made here, should be set here, and the Polish crew, the people that I worked with later in the year with working here were wonderful, and so this is a great potential. There's these new guys with this wonderful company, and here's this amazing city with this wonderful potential. So it's a sort of coming together.
The new mayor of Krakow, ladies and gentlemen. Statement to bring this film here, because I'm sure you could have gone any number of places. Why did you decide to come here with it?
Exactly because of Nick just said. Now I get to say the same things. Krakow is amazing. It's you have a fantastic facility here in that studio, and
but it's a real statement to come to this festival. I mean,
well, it's an independent film. This is a great independent film festival, and his association with it before gave us an immediate knowledge of it. And you know, this isn't a film that we've taken to festivals. We've come here to sort of announce ourselves as a company as much as anything else, rather than promoting the film. The film sort of had its life. This is a screening to say, well, look, we came together because of this. And that's really it. It doesn't define where we want to take our future projects. And as far as that goes, we're a fledgling company. We're very young, and we're just beginning. We're turning full beam on it, and we have a fantastic avenue of source material, whether it be original stories or books or original scripts or adaptations, and whether we work as a co-production company, whether it's a project that stars me or that I direct or that I'm just associated with as a producer, we're just slowly figuring that out. But I just think this is an extraordinary place to play out the end game of that. So once we have the project, we can come here and potentially shoot in Poland, which is really fun.
What happens next for this project? I mean, is there a fully fleshed script that exists that you guys want to shoot now, or what happens?
Well, Patrick, I think, is working on one, but watch this space, I guess. Yeah, watch this space. But like I said, I don't know if that will be the first one out of the drawer. Definitely for us, there's other things we want to do first.
But you created an appetite for it by this making.
I think, yeah, possibly, but more so an appetite for him and his direction and his writing. That's what this was initiated by. A friendship and a love of someone who's dear to me. So I wanted to give him the helping hand and an introduction to a larger stage. He might, yeah. He might, exactly. Nick said
he might make a feature film and he might recast. He might get someone else.
He might get a real Russian. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Someone that isn't fixing their car in the studio. Absolutely.
What's so interesting about it is that there's so much silence in it. I mean, it really is sort of about this sort of almost everybody, with the exception of the chatty Russian, working through some kind of emotional scar tissue.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, and I think you know, I think silence holds as thought process on screen. So you do get a lot of interior monologue. You get a lot of interior life, even though you don't necessarily have dialogue. And also, you've got a very short space of time to tell a story. So why not use the things that cinema's most powerful at exhibiting, which to me is the image and sound rather than just dialogue. You know, you haven't got 2 hours to compact a story into. You've got, well, this is a long short film, 20 minutes. Some would say it's a medium film rather than a short film. But I think it's, you know, it's one of the great reasons why it works so well as a medium, is that, like a poem, you have a sharper, punchier impact with less dialogue, with less immediate wordplay. And also just leaves a lot more sort of consideration and head scratching for an audience, which in some ways, we'll find out in a minute, is a good thing. It might not be, but you know, I think it doesn't clearly define things, so you can just go away and fill in the blanks slightly for yourself, and like you say, it creates an appetite for a fuller story. So, you know, I know Patrick's writing it, but yeah, watch this space, I guess.
No, because I was talking to you guys about this yesterday. I think a lot of times short films try to do too much. They try to build in 3 acts in a literal space that can't hold 3 acts. You must be really impressed that there was enough on the page that it sort of satisfies an audience but still leaves room for more.
I do, and it was so much about what was going on behind the looks, and behind the not having to push dialogue and to explaining everything, which hopefully came across. And the one thing that I did want to add is because this was a completely crowd-funded film, it would not have been possible without the support that we got from everybody so quickly. I mean,
I think the Stig was thanked at the end of the film.
the Stig, yeah, he was doing some of our driving.
Was he driving your car?
I was allowed to be beaten up, but I wasn't allowed to drive a car.
But no, the online support we got and the support we got from all of our funders was sensational, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without them. So yeah, we owe big.
Did you know you wanted to crowdsource this from the beginning, just to test the waters a little bit?
It was the original idea. We thought we'd just see how it went, and we did a budget, and we went for that, and it rocketed. It went completely above that. So we rebudgeted. we bought out a few more toys.
Because what's great about it is because so much of it takes place at night, there's a level of anxiety that exists throughout the entire film that just having watched it on my laptop, seeing it here, it's a lot more sort of unnerving seeing all that darkness in it.
I think I have to say, as a director, the testament to these guys as producers, there was a lot of attention in post-production that people don't bother with sometimes. They think, oh, that'll do, the sound will do, the picture's good enough, the story's there, we've got some guys in it that people know, this is fine. But these guys really pushed the production, so that the reason there is that atmosphere is because time was spent in. It sounds stupid, but you have to mix silence in a film. You do have to make sure that there's an atmosphere. There's a very, very low subsonic buzz, hum under this film that makes people, puts people on edge. And it's something that people don't bother with unless they're very diligent producers and that want to make it as good as it can be. The grading, the way that it's shot, the way that everything was improved as far as it could be, and that's why you have this sense of atmosphere with the film, because the sound mix is so good, the picture mix is so good, and so much care and love has gone into it.
As producers, what do you guys feel like the best way was to support Patrick? Because obviously he's trying to do a lot in a very limited amount of time.
Yeah, I think one of the main things, and when Benedict sort of asked us about the project, was to allow Patrick to focus on directing and shooting the best possible thing he can shoot as a director. So we take all the other things away from him. And basically, as Adam said, as the budget's changed, we gave him more and more. And it was a great situation. One day it's like, right, you're going to have this crane, and next day it's like, well, actually, you can have this crane. Now you can do an amazing thing with this. And so, it's really nice. It was a genuinely amazing experience to be able to give someone a chance to really push and show everyone what they can do as a director. I think that's one of the things that I personally got from it most, that you look back and you think, he really had a chance to really show everyone what he can do. And I think that's kind of the driving force behind.
I think so, because when he did his first film, he was producing it, writing it, directing it, and it was, and when you're that inexperienced anyway, to take on those 3 titanic roles, it was great for him to just be by the camera, to be talking with Paris, that's his daughter. That extraordinary child is his daughter, and that was another reason that I'm proud of this film. She's extraordinary. This is a very fresh and very, very natural, understated talent. She's really quite something. And to be with us, the three of us, Colin, myself, and Paris, by the camera, just concentrate on the shot with James, the DOP, and guide us through, understand our processes, what we want to change and differ, so that immediate conversations could happen about the work happening in the present tense, rather than him worrying about the budget or having to clear out of a certain location by a certain deadline, or the other sort of extraneous pressures of being a filmmaker, because he really had done a one-man band job before. So it was about just him fulfilling his potential as a director, writer on a set with actors and a camera, rather than worrying about everything else that would have, these guys fantastically took care of. So, yeah.
Well, because I just think the thing is really tough for a film, not like this, for this film, is to maintain that tone from start to finish. And again, like I said, just that sense of you feeling sort of the hair standing up on the back of your neck. Did you guys see that on the page as you were getting ready to work on it?
I think we did, yeah, and it was more about pulling back, because it's quite easy to push too much forwards with that. And Patrick definitely knew what he wanted, but also he was so guided by Nick and by Benedict, who both had a huge wealth of knowledge, and it was definitely more about pulling back. And in post, we tried to pull back even more for obvious reasons.
Well, it was lucky that his daughter was so talented, because I don't know how you would have told her no if she couldn't do it.
She was great.
Yeah, she was great. We were thrilled, and it was so sweet and extraordinary to sort of see her blossom from that first day of rehearsal, where she was really, really shy and nervous, and just gain this performing confidence that by the end, that really complex sort of denouement, she just did so chillingly and so effortlessly, and she sort of told me, "Was that all right?" We were like, "Yeah, that was more than all right, Paris. That was pretty special." So she's, that was a lovely thing to kind of see a father and daughter relationship as well. And I should add at this point, obviously this is a young child actor in a very violent scene, but the way we shot it and the way we managed it, we obviously had child services on set, so everything was managed. She was never aware of the violence that she was inflicting, perverse as that may sound, and I don't think she's seen it. So,
well, she's here right now. Let's bring her up.
Let's bring her up. Yeah. No,
she's not here. Calm down. She's not here.
The only reason he took the gig, he wanted to interview this amazing young yeah, and so that was done very responsibly. However irresponsible the results may seem, the irresponsibility of the violence is obviously the moral message, perversely, that to have a child be in that situation is abhorrent to anyone, and it should make you feel very uncomfortable as a viewer.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying about it sort of whetting your appetite, because the moment for me that's the most chilling is when she says to your character, "If you got him," and she runs out, you think, "Oh my God, she's completely in control of this."
Yeah.
And there's also a great moment where we realize she's leading you by the hand. When she takes your hand, you don't take her hand.
And you think it's just a child who's a bit insecure that wants to hold on.
But no,
to
you realize it's her being in
it's,
control.
It's her. She leads him all the way. She plays him all the way.
I mean, it's an incredibly confident piece of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And just small moments like that was when you guys must have known you had a real filmmaker that you were working with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that occurred to me today is that there is no difference between the child soldiers in Africa and that we like to think of as abhorrent, but then that's what this film is about. That you can be a child warrior, and that piece of artwork that we use, Scooney, these sort of contemporary of Banksy, that artwork on the wall sums all that up.
Patrick and I talked about this earlier on, because I was very nervous about this idea, this very potent, explosive idea, and we both kind of came to an understanding, but he really explained it more beautifully than I'd understood it before. He talked about the idea that, like you touched on, we see child soldiering as something that's distant, that happens in a far-off place, and it's a terrible byproduct of poverty and destitution and war in countries far removed from a Western reality, for want of a better term. Civilized, and actually, the idea that violence can corrupt within our own society is what it's kind of riffing off. It's not that far away, you can get more profound about it and take it away from the simple statement of the film by talking about child violence or teenage violence in gangs or in gun cultures like America. So he wanted to point that out, that it's not something that's that far away. that
Also,
quality.
I mean, what we get again from me in that moment, when she's basically running off, is you realize it's not a movie that's glib about violence. I mean, it's not just slick and violence.